Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Elemental Awakening. Today, my guest is a friend of mine, good friend of mine from down in San Antonio, Texas,
That's right.
which is probably a bit warmer than we are up here in Toronto. His name is Matt.
But
Matt Xian. So
yeah,
how do you properly pronounce it?
I say
Yeah,
Xian,
Xian.
but I'm always open to the way people pronounce it.
Matt Xian. I'm sure you get a few
I like
different
it.
variations of that when you get
Totally,
people. Yeah, I
totally.
get it
Yeah,
too. He's a super interesting guy. He's a musician. He runs some online pages, social media guy, entrepreneur, so many other things. And I bet he'll give a way better introduction onto who he is and a little bit of background on who is Matt and what you're doing right now. So yeah, take it away. Thanks for being here.
yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, again, my name's Xian. That's my artist name. That's Xian, and I'm a producer, documentary filmmaker, editor, and kind of like creative director of sorts, you could say. So I've been involved in a number of creative projects from a young age, starting with video first, using the home camera to make movies as a very young person, talking like ages 5 to 10 and stuff. And essentially, since then, I've really just stepped into this kind of like creative path, and I really enjoy it. It's really brings me a lot of happiness in life, and um, yeah, it's great.
How old are you now, Matt?
I am 28.
28. Okay, still
Mhm.
relatively young. So young age, you started off like 10 years ago, you'd say 18, 17, just out of high school.
That's right. That's right.
And so you started making music, and then you started. How did you get into the social media world? Was it from the music that sort of shifted into social media?
Yeah. So I created a band with two of my best friends around age 16. The band was called Something Fiction. We're still around. We're still doing stuff. But essentially, we started making music kind of more seriously when I was like 18 years old. And we put our first record out, very much influenced by this kind of awakening that had happened to me via psychedelic mushrooms. And since that, it's like we need to market it. Let's put it out. Let's as far and wide as we can. So we were using social media to do that. But I would say my real kind of voyage into social media began with my mentor, Mitch Schultz of DMT, the spirit molecule. Um, I just became a big fan of psychedelics through my journeys and followed that film, watched it 10 times over, just thought it was super incredible. Followed that film, and eventually I was privy to an opportunity to come in and help as an intern, Mitch Schultz, with marketing his film. And eventually, kind of years into my work with him, he ended up, entrusting me to run his page, DMT, the Spirit Molecule, on Facebook. And doing that is what I think catapulted me into the social media world, to the point that I was getting hit up left and right by all types of other social media admins, editors, creators that were like, hey, we're a fan of this page. Let's collaborate. So I just kind of started building a network kind of organically through my work with Mitch. Yeah.
Interesting. So would you say that that first mushroom experience sort of was the catalyst to this path of all these different experiences and where you are right now?
100%. Yeah. So the first two times I actually tried psilocybin mushrooms, they were not quite peak experiences. They were still me kind of dipping my toes in. And but that third experience, where we actually took enough to really feel it, it completely changed my life. So it wasn't the first time I took mushrooms. It was the third time that
Third
I
time's a
actually,
charm. Maybe that's where that saying
yeah,
comes from.
totally, totally. The first two were not bad, but I wouldn't say I got any type of spiritual insight or awakening. It was kind of just more like, I feel a little weird. But that
So
third one, we actually took enough to really like, there's no going back. You know what I mean?
yeah. So what changed after that, and what were some of the insights that like was it like inspiration? Was it sense of direction and clarity? You were still relatively young,
Hmm.
and for me, like at that age, the mushrooms were always in a social setting at a party. I had no idea that they could be used for anything else. Like to me, they were a drug that was for fun.
Hmm. Hmm.
So at 18, doing enough to have a spiritual experience, this is very interesting to me, and it sounds like it gave you a lot of clarity and maturity at such a young age. So you want to expand a bit on that and what changed after your
Absolutely.
experience? Yeah.
Oh, for sure. So, I was lucky enough to fall into a group of guys, these guys in my band and some of my best friends that we also, bonded over things like video games and stuff, being in high school together, that were pretty smart. These guys were philosophers. They like to think about space and black holes and, uh, just kind of like general philosophy stuff. So we were already kind of into like deeper things. Also, the music we were into, the lyrics would be exploring very deep topics. For example, Tool was a big influence of ours, a big band that we all listened to collectively that also helped bind us as friend group. And the lyrics in that Tool put out, very spiritual. And of course, I didn't know that at the time. I was just drawn to the sounds and the melodies, and I had no idea what a spiritual experience was, even though I loved songs that would, kind of delve into that. So as a bunch of kind of philosophical guys already, we were kind of predisposed to a powerful experience when these mushrooms kicked in. So we luckily were, at a park, in a very beautiful setting and environment for this shift. We weren't at a party. We weren't luckily we had done some research into set and setting and realized that, it's very important. And don't don't take don't take these things in a place that, it's not going to be for your optimum healing benefit. So we're at a park, time and space completely collapse. And
Do you have any
uh,
gauge of how much you did, or was it just like an open bag and
it's
split?
about an eighth. It was about an eighth of
An
mushrooms.
eighth,
It
so
was
three and a half
pretty thick
grams.
stems. Yeah.
Yeah,
3.5 grams.
yeah,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, that'll get you there.
Yeah, I definitely did. It's really hard to explain, of course, we always hear about these experiences, like my perception, but I was definitely receiving more information from the field of reality, it seemed to me, than I was typically able to. And I could see all types of, I was, having revelations by the second pretty much. And it really just shifted the way that I look at the world. I felt like it was almost the first time I looked at the world, or at least the first time since I was like very young, that I felt, what being on a planet in space was, because we're all so caught up in the stories we're telling ourselves, our mental images, and the kind of storyline that goes on in our head for all of our life, and we lose track of like what we actually are and what's actually happening. And I could just get a very real sense that, whoa, my feet are on the ground on a planet that's floating through space, and space is just infinite. And it's like, this is a super mega gift. Like, this is a miracle, the fact that we're here. And I guess I could see that my perception of looking around at the world was, I could feel like we were on some alien planet. Um, and I got a sense that, we were aliens or like something like that. And it just became very eye-opening to the gift of life and the gift of being able to actually awaken and realize what a special journey this is, because prior to this, I was someone who took a lot of things for granted. I was kind of depressed. I was kind of like, well, stuff's not going my way. Why do why am I having issues with girls? Why am I having issues with money? I'm a young kid, so I'm kind of stressed out, just kind of
Typical
learning.
18-year-old,
Yeah,
very, very typical 18-year-old,
100%.
mindset and perception of
Yeah.
reality. And yeah.
Yeah, I had a kind of a normal day job, working in a grocery store. I didn't love it. It wasn't calling to my passion. I didn't even know I was supposed to be super aligned with my passion at that point. I had known that previously, but somewhere along the line, like all the college talk and, you know, parental expectations, and then, you know, you wanting to go to a college with your buddies when they're going off and stuff, like all that, just like kind of societal pressure just kind of like was baking me into a depressed person. And then when I had this awakening, I realized like, whoa, like this is a special experience. I shouldn't waste it. Being alive is truly a gift. And it's better to take a risk and do something you love than to not try. So I began saying, well, what is it that I love? What is it that brings me joy in this life? Music was the thing that hit me. It was like making music with these guys, listening to music. Music has always been a part of my life. I'm someone who can, like, without even trying, like remember lyrics for like days. Like I have just like a endless memory bank of lyrics. Like I could have not heard a song for 20 freaking years at this point, and I can still remember the lyrics from even being a kid, you know? So something about music and vocals just really called out to me. And I am a vocalist myself. I'm not super doing it as much these days because I'm really enjoying just music production. But I do have some albums out, you know, with me singing. We have three records out as Something Fiction. Now I'm making music as Xian, as a solo producer. And it's not that Something Fiction, you know, isn't still alive and could potentially put out another record and stuff. I actually live with my guitarist. He's my roommate, so we're still super close. We've just kind of been exploring our own individual musical tastes recently, and so I'm creating solo music. He's creating solo music. It's really still a lot of fun. But yeah, you know, like kind of you hear of like the ego dissolution thing that happens with psychedelics, and then once you're kind of coming back to the world, it's almost like this rebirth, like this clean slate, and you get to rebuild what's important to you in your life, you know, via your perception. And what I knew was important was music, and I wanted to pursue that as full force as I could. So we really, you know, as a band, and me as kind of the forefront of the band, or the vocalist, the focal point, and also just kind of the entrepreneurial spirit of let's get out there, let's make it happen. And we started doing shows, getting on the radio, trying to get opportunities to play festivals. Started working with Mitch out of Austin, and he gave us awesome opportunities to like bring our music to the psychedelic world. And after doing that for 1-2 years and meeting tons of people in the space, we were like, whoa, we have a collective now. We have 5 solid friends that are also musicians that are coming from this space of awakened consciousness or psychedelic experience. And we bound that by creating a collective, and that collective was called Time Wheel. And we started just as a collective, and also a blog where we're just kind of like posting music that's inspiring us lately, as well as, you know, self-releasing our music and the music of the other people in the collective. Eventually, we do that for 1-2 years, actually kind of catch some fire, especially because of my relationship with Mitch Schultz and his support of just like blasting us through his network and being super, you know, behind what we're up to. Can't thank him enough for that. And we had created such a network kind of that we said, we have what it takes here to be a record label, an independent record label, not a major record label. You know, we're still kind of like a budget record label, but we have the passion, we have the network, and we have the means to, you know, help other artists in their pursuit of getting their music out, sharing their message. So slowly over the years, Time Wheel shifted from a collective to a blog to a record label, and to now I feel like we found this niche of like being a media platform for the visionary. I've been lucky enough to make connections with a ton of filmmakers, you being one of them, through my work with Mitch, and also CT, who's a good friend of mine out of Austin, who I might recommend for this podcast, actually. And I started helping with the Aubrey Marcus camp. He has a film called Ayahuasca and Wachuma, which Mitch was involved in creating. And I came in as well as an editor for those. And then the doors just open. They're just like, oh, we hear you do psychedelic stuff. So I started getting hit up from all angles, all different people. Hey, we love your work with the spirit molecule, with ayahuasca, with Wachuma. Like, can you help us? And so we start kind of rolling out these different films and helping them become successful and widely known in the space. So we started folding films into what we do as well. And then the exact same thing happened with podcasters. Podcasting was very new, still is kind of new. And we started making contacts with people, for example, Michael Phillip from Third Eye Drops, big shouts to him. And we were just like, hey, well, we have a platform here. Let's share this platform because I love the way he talks and the people he interviews and the way he articulates the psychedelic experience. So we started building bridges with podcasters, filmmakers, and musicians. So the Time Wheel is a media platform for those things. And then on top of that, the last thing we started doing, which was recently, the past 1, 2, 3 years, is events, in-person events, bringing a collective visionary quality to our city, San Antonio, because there really was a lack of kind of like representation in that field. In Austin, it's way different. Austin's super psychedelic, like it's like the LA of Texas, and they're very turned on there. There's a industry there, and they're very aware of psychedelics, and that's where like DMT, spirit molecule, was produced, and as well as a new understanding the science of psilocybin. Like I said earlier, Wachuma and ayahuasca, all of those films are coming out of Austin. So we were like, how do we bring this energy that I'm experiencing in Austin to San Antonio, bring it home? So we started this festival called Odyssey. And I started that with a number of the guys that are on Time Wheel. And it's just been so much fun, We had, 4 years now, 4 years of Odyssey festivals. And in between these festivals, we're also throwing like shows, like house shows, but also shows at different venues. And I think that the main focus of the shows is to bring visionary music, art, and community together to just have an experience, have a night. And we don't say like only one genre, like it doesn't have to be just electronic music. Like we work
How would
with
you define like psychedelic
too.
music these days? Like what defines it? Is this like,
Mm-hmm.
how would you answer that question as a genre? Is psychedelic, it's a sound? Is it a community behind the sound? Is it the lyrics? Is it, like what defines psychedelic music or a psychedelic music festival?
To me, most of the guys that we work with, they've been inspired by similar experiences. I guess that like the most like baseline quality is like, where are you writing from? Or, what experience are you trying to channel? And a lot of these guys are like, I had an awakening. I had a really big trip. I had an otherworldly experience, and I want to create music and art or of some sort, whether it be visual art or a podcast or a film, something. Like I want to create from this experience that I had, because they are powerful. Like these experiences literally are like life-changing. Mm-hmm. And it can help you like redirect your thoughts to actually like artful creation. Mm-hmm. So I'd say most of the guys that we work with, as far as like this Odyssey Festival, even if they're a rock artist versus like an electronic artist, they're writing from a space of, I've been in an altered state, and this is some of the stuff I've learned. And it's not always the case, because, like you don't just write the same thing over and over and over in every song. So some songs might be more about emotion, and some songs might be more about spirituality, but really like it's all, joined by the visionary quality of, let's create something from inspiration that we found within ourselves during these experiences.
So interesting.
And there's also, like sound qualities that exist within psychedelic music, certain spaciness, a certain depth, certainly lyrics that, when you read them, you can say, wow, these really sound inspired by an altered state of consciousness. It's not just kind of like, I went to the bar and I had a beer. It's, you know what I mean? Yeah, like the lyrics are very like emotive. So
yeah, when making the documentary, you tried to select songs that were, I guess, psychedelically inspired. A lot of your music and some of the artists from your label. Obviously, you guys put into the film as well. And but even, you know, there's the medicine music that comes from South America. It's inspired, and you can really see it comes from
Mhm.
somewhere else. And I was actually personally inspired to start singing after an ayahuasca experience.
Mhm.
And it's been an interesting journey for me when it comes to music, or even listening to music on psychedelics, and how it becomes visceral, and it
Mhm.
becomes so visual, and you feel it, and you can experience the music, you can experience the sound. That it's not just auditory; it's a full on experience through psychedelics. Like a band you've
100%.
listened to 1,000 times, listen to it on LSD or psilocybin, it sounds differently. You hear that depth you're
Yep.
talking about. And I
Yep.
remember distinctly one LSD experience. I was in Vancouver, down by this river. There's a bunch of people, and this guy starts playing guitar, and this girl starts singing, and it just totally blew me away. And this thought came: it's like, shit, you know, every single one of us have this
Mhm.
gift of a voice, but how many
Right.
people actually sing? And in an ayahuasca ceremony, I think it was the same year, maybe the following year, as I hear someone singing live in a ceremony, the thought came, like, I wish I could sing like that. And the answer, the ayahuasca said, you can. You just try, sing about something that means something to you. Don't just try to
100%.
sing something on the radio that sounds catchy. Find
Mhm.
something that really resonates, and you'll be able to sing it. So then I started like learning songs that I really connected with the lyrics, or they were medicine songs, and I found this voice. And it was interesting because when I would sing, I would feel high. I would
Mhm.
have these altered states just through expressing myself creatively and singing, even if they
Mhm.
weren't my own songs, even if I was doing a cover song, but really
Right.
putting myself into it.
Right.
I feel like I'd be reaching these altered states of consciousness.
Mhm.
And I think it's a really interesting experience that most people, I'd say, you know, don't experience because they don't sing or try to sing or sing about something that they're really passionate about.
100%. I agree. For me, that's another thing that I knew that I loved, because I was actually singing before any of my psychedelic experiences, kind of just by default, because as a band, you know, I was playing piano. We were kind of almost like a jazz fusion band when we started. We had a drummer, a guitarist, a bassist, and I was on keys. Um, Eventually, we did want to start playing songs with words, and we all kind of looked around the room like, who wants to try and make vocals? Anyone? And I'm just like, I'll try. And so I did, and I did find that I entered some type of trance or altered state when we would be in our performance mode. You know, like we weren't performing for anyone but ourselves, but we were in a room at my drummer's parents' house because we were still young kids, and we would just kind of enter these like kind of like grooves, like these trance states where we're all just like rocking, and it was dope. And you know, like I said, falling away, like all the things falling away when you have this ego dissolution and you're building them back when you're coming back. I was like, that is really a part of me that I hold dearly, and that's like a big experience for me, singing and being a part of a band. Like I really want to hold on to that, and I love that. And so yeah, singing to me is, it's super fun. I do it all the time. Even though I'm not like currently singing on a stage for people, like I still sing in my daily life. So and I sometimes add a touch of vocals to like the electronic musician
Yeah,
stuff that
it's
I do, but it's kind of like people don't really know that they're hearing vocals. It sounds kind of like effects, but I do throw some vocals in sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've also realized with more awareness to music through my own experiences too, that maybe there's more than two, but like I've identified two types of vocalists. There's the ones that are very ego driven, that's about them and wanting people to love them and put on the show. And there's the other performers that they just want to connect a message with the crowd, and they sing from their heart, trying to evoke, you know, an
Mm-hmm.
experience.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
Mm-hmm.
it's coming from them to connect versus look at me because I'm here and I'm the performer type thing, like more
Right.
of ego based versus heart based.
For sure.
And just touching back on what you were going to before when you get into those jams, that's another experience that I remember that you just sort of refresh my memory. When I used to be in a band, it's like
Mm-hmm.
when you start jamming and you just get into that zone where it's just like you're in this state of flow where everyone is just like so synced. It's like you merge consciousness in a through music. Although you're playing different instruments, it's just in such a flow that, you know, one guy's doing this, that, the changes happen together. You get into this amazing flow state, and
Mm-hmm.
it's such an interesting experience. Like, what do you think's going on there? Like, is it the sound that's
Mm-hmm.
connecting? Is it a combination of
Yeah.
How would you describe that as a musician?
That's crazy. That's a good question because I think a lot of people, you know, it's hard to put a finger on what's happening. And, most guys, they're just think like, hey, we're rocking out, right? But when you think of it from a psychedelic perspective, I mean, the sense that I get is tribal, communal, shamanesque chanting around the fire, archaic, just like ancient primal thing happening that we're like honestly like out of touch with in today's society. But like it's in our DNA. You know what I mean? Like that part of like those super ancient civilizations that would get around the campfire and have the shaman vision quests and like dance and sing and be moved by drums and this type of stuff. It's just like hardwired into people that are musicians.
Yeah, like
And
you can watch like footage of like Woodstock, and you see like I always remember like the Joe Cocker Woodstock performance, and like he's like in full trance. He's shaking, he's screaming, like
Mhm.
he's not thinking about what he's doing. He's just
Exactly.
totally surrendering to something else. Or
Yeah.
like when you hear some of these like amazing drummers do these like wild drum solos, it's
Right.
not like they're thinking about what they're gonna hit. They're just
Right.
letting go and just letting go
Hmm.
totally into the experience,
Yeah.
and
The
something
music
magic
moves
comes.
you
Music moves you. Yeah, yeah, it's
100%.
super interesting.
That's why I think it is magical, man. Because music, it's like almost everyone loves music. I don't, like if someone says they don't love or like music, like I'm kind of like, yeah, you do. Because like, how do you not? You know what I mean? It's like maybe you're not the biggest fan where you're digging into everything the way that some people do, but I mean, you hear music everywhere you go. It's universal. It's a
I think,
universal
yeah,
language.
and I think, and again, I'm generalizing here big time, but people should give other genres of music a chance.
Hmm.
Really listen to other music, because most of the time people like what they're familiar with,
Right.
uh, and there's like this bias towards that. But I've learned over the last few years is to really listen to everything, all types of music, and just give it a chance. Because at first
Hmm.
you're like, "Oh, I don't like this because it doesn't sound like what I'm used to hearing."
Hmm.
But some of the music I've been exposed to is just like so amazing. Whether it's this world music, South American, different types of remixes, psytrance, like whatever, like deep
Yeah.
house. Because there's some people, and there's some other music that sucks, in my opinion, and to some people
Hmm.
they might love it. But there's some
Hmm.
artists there that it sounds different, but you can feel that passion behind it, and that's what moves you when you find those artists that are really like into the music.
Yes.
um
I will say psychedelics definitely opened my appreciation up for different musical genres that I previously didn't really have, a lot of appreciation for. Not because I thought it wasn't valid, but it was just, yeah, like you said, I was in my little, like, I want to stay in my familiar bubble. It's like I grew up listening to rock music. I'm going to stay in this rock bubble. And I
Mhm.
really didn't listen to like electronic music, trance, or like any type of deviation from rock music because I was like, oh, that stuff is just, it's not the real music. But after my psychedelic experiences and I would hear different types of music, I could learn to appreciate where that artist was coming from. And these days I love like all types of music. I mean, except for kind of like country. And I can hear country like for its nostalgic value. I mean, I grew up in Georgia and they used to play it everywhere I went. So I know some of the country songs. And I'm like, wow, I haven't heard the song in a minute. Like I can appreciate the nostalgia it's bringing to me, but I don't really put country on. You know what I mean? But
Yeah, there's a lot
I,
of music that I won't put on, but sometimes I'll hear it and I'll go, "Hey, wow, that's a cool song." Or
yeah.
um, like my wife recently was listening to like Dolly Parton, like Jolene, I think the song
Hmm.
was, and I had never heard it before. I was like, "Wow, that's a really good song,"
Yeah. Some of
and
those people are really good singers and
and they
stuff. You
just
can just
put their heart
appreciate the
into it.
talent. Yeah.
Yeah, they just really
Yeah,
put
like the
their heart into
passion,
it.
the talent, like I can appreciate it now.
Yeah,
No matter where you're coming from, you could be a pop singer, you can be a country singer, you can be whatever. I can like find that angle of like, well, he loves music clearly, and he's doing this hard, and he's on the radio, so he's doing really good.
yeah,
So it's like,
yeah.
how can I be a hater? So I do appreciate like all genres of music these days. I'd just say, country's on the lower end of the spectrum of the frequency that I listen to it willingly, but
Hear you. Hear you.
um, I totally I resonate with that.
In your algorithm, it's got not the most frequency.
Totally.
So let's change gears a bit here. So we got to know you a bit and what you're up
Mhm.
to, and things that you're working on. So speaking of algorithms, so you do a lot of Facebook, social media. So what do you think is going on right now in the social media world? A lot of pages are losing reach, and some
Mm-hmm.
people are complaining. But I was just doing some math. If you like 100 pages that post 20 times a day, there's 2,000 posts on your
Mm-hmm.
feed per day. So obviously you're not going to be able to see all those. And
Right.
Facebook wants to figure out a way to get stuff in front of you. So you think what they're doing is with these algorithms, you think they're really trying to improve user experience? You think they're just trying to get people to pay to play type thing? Like, what's your sort of view on sort of social media as it is, some of the main players? And
Mm-hmm.
do you think it's going to be changing? And if so, how?
Yeah, it's a hard question because I never thought Facebook would change. I was actually like, I really loved Facebook for a while because I was like, this is such a cool thing that they're doing for us as independent publishers, letting us actually get reach and clicks and stuff. And some of our pages, have like super viral potential if we post something that's of high quality caliber. Um, it can go wide and far, even today. But when they started changing these algorithms, I was like, what are they doing, man? Like it kind of was like I feel like they're shooting themselves in the foot because they're gonna like pretty much make people go to a different platform, which is funny because the platform seems to be Instagram, which is also owned by Facebook. So I guess it's a win for them either way. But the whole fake news stir, I don't know who started that. Maybe the Illuminati. I'm just kidding. But it's like, yeah, when the fake news stir happened, and then also the Cambridge Analytica thing happened, and then they reduced the amount of viewership that any publisher could get by 25%, I believe. It was 20 or 25%. Everyone that I know in the space saw a drastic decline in, reach for their page, the amount of clicks they were getting, and this type of stuff. So I really don't know what's going to happen, but in my mind, like Facebook kind of shot themselves in the foot and it made a lot of people unhappy with them by doing this, but maybe it's for the best. I don't know. I mean, you're definitely right about the pay to play model. It works. And as someone who's invested in my business, Time Wheel, and I'm a part of other businesses as well, we kind of do bend and pay for our reach now. So they're winning in that regard that, they knew that we invested years into building these communities and then they just take all of our reach away. Well, it's like, well, I don't want to just throw years away. So I guess I'm going to pay $10 for people to see this.
Well, and in their defense, they're investing a lot of money too, and they have a business, and sort of they gave a lot of people like a free opportunity to create a powerful
Mm-hmm.
machine. Like I knew back in the day when this stuff was still really easy, or much easier than it is today. Some Facebook pages were making like thousands and thousands,
Mm-hmm.
tens, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars
Yeah.
through Google AdSense and stuff like
Yeah.
that, and Facebook wasn't seeing any of that. You know,
That's true, but that's why I was like, this is such a good thing for the planet. And it really is a case to case basis because some of the people were doing it very clickbaity, very like misleadingly making money,
mm,
and of course, us as people with the psychedelic bond were kind of like, it doesn't feel so and like doesn't
some
have
level
much
of
integrity.
integrity, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, they're kind of lacking integrity, so let's not do that,
Hmm.
but let's do our own version of like integrity publishing, like having substance to what you're sharing versus it just kind of being a copy paste from another site, which we saw a lot of. And actually a lot of people did that to us. Time Wheel has gotten so many of our original articles stolen, just copy pasted to other channels. And I kind of said, I don't care.
Well, it seems a
I
bit
don't
like the
go.
Wild West on
Yeah.
online. People can just copy and paste, and there's no real police that are out. I don't know if there's algorithms that stop reach, or I think there's a little bit of that, but really, it's a Wild West out there. Anyone could steal anything and repost it. It's really hard to sort of
Mhm.
crack down on stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. So, um,
So,
my
what advice?
position
Yeah,
on
go
it,
ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
my position on people like stealing our articles was, I don't care. At least it's getting read, right? Like this is our words between me as a writer and then my right hand man Xian, Acroitis. He's one of my best friends, and he is like the writer for our website. But between us two, we wrote everything on the site that's there currently. And yeah, people just, other psychedelic blogs even. So I'm a little bit like, hey, you guys are a psychedelic blog. You should have more integrity than to steal our article. But, whatever. Um, It's a weird freaking world, man. But as far as like where it's going, I really don't know. I would hope that they would give a little bit of publisher reach back, especially if you don't have like marks against you, you know, like if you haven't been abusing, you know, Facebook and sending out clickbait and misleading articles and stuff, like why should we be penalized, you know?
We got our ad account taken away at a float
Mhm.
studio for trying to post an ad to pay. And it's frustrating because we don't have like an ad manager that we can call and say, hey, change this and you'll go back up. They're like, you
Mhm.
violated our policy, you're out. And we
Mhm.
couldn't even do anything. This is like our business. We're trying to pay to play in this realm.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of frustrating. There's such a big machine, and people talking for years. I've heard of all these other sites trying to come up and replace Facebook or a new social media platform. But it
I
seems
don't
like
know if they can do it now, you know, because I remember when all this happened, there was a group of editors that I was a part of that was like, okay, we're gonna start our own social media network. And I think they actually built a website and it looked good. It actually looked good. But like, of course, how are you gonna get everyone from Facebook over there? You know what I
yeah,
mean?
it's
It's just
it's
like they
people are
have
so
billions.
invested. Yeah, people are so invested in Facebook. I
Hmm.
think it'd be really hard to transfer out of it. I really think the next social networks are going to be offline. I think people are coming back to that. So I think
Hmm.
the
Yeah,
online
because the
world's
mental
really,
health thing, you know?
I think the online world's really pushed people in a direction which is it's very addictive, and
Yes.
it fills a lot of gaps. And there's this information world that people have been exposed to that I guess have satiated their minds with all this information, but it's come at a cost where people are antisocial, people
Hmm.
are looking at their screens all day, which causes a lot of other issues with stress and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Blue light and stuff. Like, so I'm
Yeah,
wearing these right here. Boom.
yeah, nice. And now
But
people are moving more like that. Once they find a real connection, they feel it like, oh wow, I've been missing this,
yeah,
so
100%.
I'm
Yeah, I love
hopeful.
when you're just like amongst friends and it's been 2 hours and you haven't looked at your phone. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
it's
and
like,
you were telling me
that's
the other
real
day
life.
about yeah, you were telling me the other day about some strategies you have called like deep work.
Yeah.
You want to talk a bit about that and what that's like?
Sure. Yeah. Big shout out to Cal Newport. He's the author of a book called Deep Work. And shout out to CT, my friend out of Austin, who I do video work for, who showed me this book. And the concept is undistracted zone. Like you're in the zone, you're undistracted, and you're going to do a block of work. A block is like an hour. So it doesn't count if you go check Instagram. It doesn't count if you go check your email. It doesn't count if you take that call or respond to that message. Even a just check, they're called. I just got to check. Did I get any new likes? I just got to check. You can't do that. It's like your phone is, it's away from you or it's like face down on the table. And it's like, hey, I'm going to clock an hour right now. If you can get 2 or 3 or 4 of those hours in, you know, you're actually doing a lot more focused work than the rest of the world because everyone else is doing these just checks. And essentially we're in a very like low focus societal moment where at any moment when someone is like quote unquote bored, you know, you're standing in line to get your groceries, checked out, you know, you're waiting in line for the gas pump. We have something to do, and they do it. Everyone's like, oh, I got to do it. Like any moment of just stillness or boredom, you can now fill it with this Instagram, this Facebook, this Twitter. Um, well, what deep work teaches is try to train your mind to not default to like go to that entertainment mode. Try and actually stand in line and be bored. It's good for your brain to not constantly be getting these dopamine hits. And it trains your mind to be more focused when it's time to be focused. So for me, I've actually kind of trying to get back in the swing of my early morning routines because I went on a vacation and it kind of threw me off. But I did like 3 days this week of my super early morning routine where you get up and it's like before sunrise. So people aren't hitting you up. People aren't texting you. There's really no one posting because everyone's asleep. Those I find are the best hours to get your deep work in. And so before anyone else is even up or sees you for that
What
day,
time is that for you?
4:30,
Wow. Fourth, and you're at bed at what time?
like 9 latest.
Okay, so that's good. So you're giving
But it's
yourself.
not every day. And, you know, I wanted to ask you a bit about it because I know that you're like you're super into health and just like knowing like, you know, what's best for your body. Cause it's something I do Monday through Thursday. And I'm wondering if maybe that's not quite optimum for our circadian rhythm. Maybe you have insight on that. But so Monday through Thursday, it's like I'm waking up at 4:30, maybe 5, because sometimes I'm just like, I need a little bit more sleep and I'm still getting up super early. And then like Friday through Sunday, I'll sleep in a bit and get my rest back. It works for me getting my deep work,
So when you
but
say
on a
you
like
get your
holistic level, I wonder, you know, can
Yeah,
it be better?
so I'm not an expert on sleep. I've read a few books on it. I've done my own personal studies. So um, if you're listening and I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but from my own experience, so when you say get rested, does that mean you feel like you're not getting enough deep sleep during the week? Because you are, if you're
Um,
going to bed at 9, you're
mhm,
still getting that 7.5 to 8 hours of
mhm,
bedtime. So
mhm.
there's a difference in my books between bedtime and sleep time. Sometimes you're going to bed at 9, you're not falling asleep till 10,
Sure.
or are you falling asleep right away? So, I have an aura ring which tracks fairly accurately how long
Ooh,
I'm actually sleeping.
I need to get
Uh,
one.
you didn't get one? You're
I
gonna get
want
one.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. So it actually will track that. So that's one thing. And they say what also is very important with sleep and circadian rhythm and stuff like that is consistency.
Hmm.
So, that change from the weekend to the week, I'm assuming you're going to bed a bit later at night, you're waking up, you're sleeping in a
Yeah,
bit
because
more.
as a musician, you know, these shows and stuff, sometimes they're not having me play until 11 p.m. or later,
Yeah.
you know?
So I
So,
wouldn't say that's optimal, but I think it's important if you're getting like the 8 hours or 7 hours of sleep, maybe 8 hours of in bed time, and you're sleeping right through the night. Like those are good things. Consistency is also important, and then quality is important. The depth of your sleep, and
mhm,
it's hard to track that without some sort of tracking device. But
right. I
usually,
used to have this wristband. I wish I remember the brand name. I could look it up, and I still have the wristband somewhere. I kind of fall off using it, but it it did do that. It would track your sleep, your
the
uh
depth, yeah.
the depth. It would even show you like, and I think it's not, you know, trying to be 100% scientifically accurate, but it's like there's a high chance that this is where your REM was as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, the Aura Ring
Um,
does something like that too. And some people say,
mhm.
like Matthew Walker says, they're fairly accurate, but they're not where
Right,
they will be in a few years.
right. That's what I mean to say is it's like it's guessing based on your pulse that, you know,
Yeah.
potentially this is how much REM sleep you got, and it could be right. It,
But
you know.
it's super important. Like sleep,
Mhm.
I used to take sleep for granted. I used to I wouldn't say I was a big Gary Vee fan, but I used to watch what he was doing and I was
Mhm.
like,
Same.
shit, I mean, this guy's crushing it. He's going to sleep
Yeah.
at late at night, waking up in the morning. He's like, fuck
Hmm.
sleep. I don't, you got to get up and own it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, you know what? Like if I can sacrifice some sleep and get a few more hours in, let's do it. But now the research is saying that that's actually not good for you. You're not going to be as focused. Your brain is not going to work as optimally, and most likely you're not going to live as long. So you're saying go get it now. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
one life to live, but you're actually shortening that one life that you have. So
Right.
no disrespect to Gary Vee. I think he's changed his tone a bit around that. I'm not sure. I don't super follow him, but he
Hmm.
really came to mind as one of those guys that's like, yeah, I wake up super early. So
Right.
back to your point of deep work, I would
Yeah.
say like if it works for you, do it, but don't
Hmm.
sacrifice too much sleep for
Hmm.
productivity because in the long run, if you're feeling tired, your brain's not going to be working as well. So that deep work
100%.
might be as deep as you think. But
Hmm.
um, you've inspired me to wake up even earlier. Like right now, I'm around like 6:30 because I'm
Hmm.
trying to always get like that at least 8 hours of
Right.
bedtime.
Yeah,
Uh,
and don't you have kids? So like maybe getting up a little earlier, you won't have to kind of deal with them being up and.
when I was up at 5 a.m., those were my most productive because from 5 to like
Hmm.
7:30, it was like quiet time. Around
Totally,
7:30, it's
100%.
getting noisy around the house.
And
But
same here because I live with a bunch of roommates, you know, and
yeah,
once we're all up, we're all chatting, we're all talking business, you know, we're all like gearing up for whatever show. So it's like for me to get my alone time with my work is very important, and it definitely changed my game when I started doing it, 100%. So I definitely love it and want to keep it up, and I do recommend it, you know. And even if you're not getting up super early to do your deep work, just learning the concept of deep work, and um, also as part of this book, he really goes into like why Instagram is so addictive and why we check. And it's not because it's awesome. It's because they trick us into thinking it's so important by timing things certain ways, holding back and letting you know about certain likes, and you get a big spree of likes. Or essentially, these things are engineered to be as addictive as possible. It's not the fact that they just so happen to be so cool. They're made to be in your mind. They're made to be on the back of your mind at all times. And once you kind of learn that, you kind of look at it a little more suspiciously, kind of like, do I want to give them my mind right now, or can I save that for later? Because at the end of the day, you're helping advertisers make, you're helping people make advertising money just by being on there. And Cal Newport, the author of this book, has this thing called the attention resistance, which is pretty much a club of people who reduce the amount that they're on social media purposefully to kind of be part of this other like real world group and resist the temptation of just giving your consciousness to these freaking program developers all day, every day. And, I use it because it's part of our business. And I do use it even as a personal person, just to keep up with friends and stuff. But I do think that I have a better understanding of what's going on than most people, because most people are just glued to it, literally glued, like 24/7.
Yeah, I see it all the time. And sometimes I'll admit, like I get into these like Facebook spirals where I'm just clicking articles, reading, and just like lose myself. The next thing
reading articles isn't as bad as just mindlessly scrolling, and you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, like I don't spend much time like on Instagram. Like I'll check it from time to time, usually when I'm doing posts. But like I find myself more like just reading Facebook articles and just spending a lot of time in there. But still, it's sometimes if I read it, I don't feel any smarter. I just like, what the hell did I just read for the last hour? Just like
I feel you. There's pros and cons to everything. I mean, the information age that we're in is amazing. I mean, we can learn anything at the click of a button, so I definitely think that it's a gift for sure, but let's just not abuse it. I mean, you can abuse anything, you can abuse cheeseburgers, as Joe Rogan always likes to say.
I love that line. Yeah.
So It's like, just kind of like everything in moderation, even Instagram, even Facebook, I know that us entrepreneurs out here have to use it for business, to get our word out, to get our leads, to get our conversions. But as a consumer, just limit yourself. If you're going to go in and do your work, but don't get caught up in the maelstrom of, just scrolling.
Yeah, I hear you. So what would you say for people that want to start using Facebook? Because I guess there's a couple ways, some people that already have a business want to grow like a following online. Then there's some people that just want to become influencers and start a channel. So what would you suggest are some of like, you think the best social media sort of outlets for business if you want to grow something from scratch? And is it still possible to do that in this day and age, to grow something?
It's still possible, but it's much harder. And the influencer thing is like way oversaturated right now. So I honestly don't think being an influencer is really the best model. If you want to be a business, maybe you can offer a service of some sort versus, trying to just like be somebody and like get paid to post, you know what I mean? Like, cause every single person is trying to do that in a sense. So, the influencer thing, I feel like if you're not already on that wave, it's kind of,
what do you think
like the easiest thing to start at this
like
point?
Do you think there's a formula to that? Like, do you think like there is actually like a technique? I know there's ways that you can optimize like your profile and stuff like that, but the ones that actually take off, do you think it's something they did, or you think it's who they are that actually does it?
It's probably a consistency thing. If you have a message and you reliably show up every day and spread your message, I mean, it's just kind of like a matter of time before you'll become successful.
But like you have to have a message. Like what I'm saying is
you have to have
some special qualities within you that
you can't just
put forth to connect with people rather than trying to like
quality content.
Formula. Yeah,
you have to have quality content. You have to resonate with people. You have to have insight into some field. Like some niche field. Could be psychedelics, like in our example. Could be health, wellness. People like the working out stuff. I know that a lot of influencers are kind of workout guys. Apparel brands, this type of things. So yeah, you really, consistency, having a solid message, solid branding, solid website, really just taking it seriously, because if you half-ass it, then your results will be half-assed. So.
Cool. Okay, let's jump around a bit now. I got a couple questions, and then we'll dive into obviously psychedelics.
Cool.
But we're doing okay on time. What's one thing that you don't currently know that you want to learn about? So where's your curiosity? It could be a skill, it could be, a topic. Is there anything particular that's on your list? Like, hey, I want to learn about that.
Wow, good question. I've been finding myself being more interested in higher level video editing. I've been video editing for a long time, like 15 years plus. So most of the stuff I do is documentary oriented, clipping stuff of real life. But it would be cool to get deeper into like animation, like
so that you can
video
create
animation,
more compelling content.
Totally. Just more high end visual 3D graphic type stuff, like eventually.
How would you learn about that? Like online courses? Is there like
courses, and just kind of trying your hand at it and messing up a million times and getting it right a million first time.
It's the best learning, of course.
Yeah.
So tell me about like any gadgets or science or apps that really make a difference in your life. Is there anything that is a go-to for you, whether it's something on your phone or your computer or an actual like physical gadget?
I used to be a little more into the biohacking stuff. Like I was saying, like I can't even recall the name of the bracelet that I have, but program wise, I mean, Ableton is the music program I use. I think that it's completely genius platform. Whoever made it, I don't know the dude's name who made it, but kudos. And it really makes it a lot of fun and easy and in flow to make music. I find it super innovative. So Ableton has completely changed my game when it comes to music production. So,
and what about like other technology for recording music? Like I remember back in the day, you had to go to like a recording studio to like make an album. Now it seems like
you can do it from home.
Quality, you can still get decent quality with not breaking the bank.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, it's still definitely an investment. There's lots of pieces to get. First of all, you need like a nice computer that has enough RAM, enough hard drive space, and memory, and all this and that to like successfully run music programs. Then you need an interface and speakers and MIDI controllers and synths, and it's still like you're going to invest thousands of dollars for sure, but it's doable in this day and age where you can, like say $1,000 to $3,000 make a home studio versus spending $10,000 and not owning any equipment and just going to someone else's studio.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, let's jump into psychedelics. So
let's do it.
What's the most intense experience? And was there like a very clear, like a bad experience that what you would call, well, most people call a bad trip, anything like that to share?
It's funny. I haven't had a bad trip. Even when experiences.
One sec, Matt. My kids just came down. Sorry to interrupt you. Can we go outside? Go in the backyard. Yeah. In the backyard. I'll be up in a few minutes. Okay. This is part of our show here in our professional studio in the basement. Sometimes the kids will run down and interrupt, so I apologize for that.
Totally.
Go play in the backyard, guys. I'm gonna be out in a minute. We can go. Yeah, it's a Friday today, and it's PA day, so school's out. So
nice.
I got the kids at home.
Oh, I used to love those days.
Yeah, so they're having
the
fun.
best.
They want to go outside. So we'll get out in a few minutes.
Cool.
Most intense trip or bad trip. Any of those experiences. A lot of people ask me because they have fear towards that.
Yeah, luckily I haven't had a bad trip. I mean, I've had difficult experiences within trips, but I've found that old idiom that the way out is through. It works. I mean, the only way to get out of something you're feeling anxiety about is to just go into it head first. So
that's my motto.
Yeah, 100%. And it works. And you'll be surprised how much faster you feel better.
It's the resistance where the pain comes from. When you're trying to avoid it, the medicine's trying to bring you to somewhere to learn.
Yep.
And if you're avoiding that, it's going to keep pushing on you. It's going to drag on maybe all night. Yeah.
100%. It's like, it's so weird. It's like, it seems counterintuitive, but someone going through a bad experience, like the people who have bad trips, for example, will resist something for 4 hours and have a terrible time for 4 hours. versus investing the 5 minutes to open that box and go inside and then
Yeah.
get out the other side safely.
Yeah.
5 minutes or 4 hours, which one? You know,
Yeah.
like you want to do something hard for 5 minutes? You want to do something really hard for 4 hours? It seems like, you know what I mean? Like make the
Yeah.
trade-off.
It's
Like
just fear, I think. I think they don't know, or they don't realize that that's
right.
maybe it's not possible. But that's
You
why
have
I
to
think more
trust it.
guidance.
You
Yeah,
have
you
to
gotta trust
trust
it.
the process, trust your soul. You know what I mean? Like I feel like psychedelics have given me a glimpse of like what the soul is. It's hard to say, you know, like give a scientific definition, but essentially it's the awareness that's left once your kind of default mind seems to not be there anymore. Like you're not having the thoughts you're always having. You feel a little detached from the life and the story that you feel was you. And you still have awareness of the world around you. You still have awareness of the memories and the possibilities, but you are open to how things could be seen differently.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's weird. It's like it's hard to try and decide which of my experiences was the
Okay.
most powerful.
Yeah,
Maybe
let's talk
maybe
about
the first one.
was the most powerful, most revelation,
Yeah,
revelatory.
just because it's the first time learning that this whole other side of life is a
Any
thing.
other like awakening moments in psychedelics for you, or like, wow, like an insight that just totally changed your perspective? Anything that comes to mind?
100%. My appreciation for nature has grown immensely. You know, before it was like I didn't even see nature. Honestly, I just saw concrete and buildings, and grass and trees were like, whatever. It was just grass and trees. But like after psychedelics, like I freaking love nature. You know what I mean? I find it so magical and mystical, beautiful. Just being out in the woods is like this like crazy timeless
And you
feeling.
feel like you're a part of it. Like
Yeah.
we were
I feel like
before
we're
we had
walking
houses.
mushrooms or walking trees or something. Like
Before we had
humans are just
houses and places to live, I'm sure we lived in the forest as a part of it,
mm-hmm.
not separate from it. You know, like
Yeah, it's encoded into our DNA, I think, to really appreciate nature. And that's something that people lose touch with for sure. I mean, a bunch of people still are in touch with it. You know, when you go out to the park, you know, there are people there. It's because they
yeah,
understand that it's
yeah,
fun to be here.
yeah.
But a part of me, I had lost touch with that for sure. You know, you just start thinking about technology. Like I was saying, like when you're driving, you're looking at concrete, you're looking at buildings, you're looking at squares, you're looking at this stuff, and you kind of lose the appreciation for the mysticality of trees and
I had I
plants.
had this one crazy experience. I think it was an
Mm-hmm.
ayahuasca experience
Mm-hmm.
where I relived myself as a sperm.
Wow.
And when you think about it, we were all like this
Yeah,
person, like you yourself at
we
one
all are.
time
Yeah.
was swimming in fluid,
Right.
going to an egg to become yourself.
That is
That
nuts.
happened. You experienced that.
Mm-hmm.
We all experienced that from some level of consciousness.
We
We've
did.
forgotten about it, but we all did, you know?
Right.
And
Right.
that growth, that cell division of us, our body, you know, from
Mhm.
that single cell to where we are today, trillions,
Right.
started with one, you know,
That's
and it was just
incredible.
wow, like I would never think of that or experience that. And I was just like instant moment of gratitude of just like
Mhm.
consciousness, you know, just like awareness of like that miracle. Like it's such a
Right.
miracle. And it
Right.
was psychedelics. And you know, and
Mhm.
then, you know, there was an experience like that that really inspired me to make the documentary because I was like, this is like one of the most amazing experiences of my life. And someone says it's illegal. This is
Right.
not good. You
Right.
should not do this, bad for you.
I know.
You know, and that's man's law. You know what I mean? Man trying to say what's good and what's not, you know, usually based on their own interests.
Right.
um, and you know, one of my spiritual teachers was talking in an earlier podcast about this. It's like there's a spiritual law that governs the universe or the cosmos or whatever, like higher realms. Then there's like the natural law, which are the laws of nature, and then
Hmm.
there's the man's law, which usually goes against the laws of nature because they
Right.
usually are contradictory, or it supports personal interests for the destruction of nature and the loss of life and all that
Hmm.
kind of stuff.
Hmm.
And you know,
Hmm.
it's like what how do we fix that? And I
Right.
guess my next question to you in the psychedelic space is, you know, where do you see this the psychedelic community going from here? You know, do you see legalization as something that's
Yeah.
real, and if so, like how can we make sure it's done in a way with integrity? Um,
100%.
like
I
what do
think
you think?
Maps is leading that charge and doing a great job, really. And I'm kind of glad they're doing it with MDMA as well. And I know they're working on mushrooms and other things as well, which is great. But MDMA is it's hard to have a bad time, right? It's hard to have a negative experience or a bad trip or whatever you want to call it. So it's effective. Its level of effectiveness is higher for achieving that awakened consciousness, that heart space. And I do think that they are going to be, legal, sanctioned, but legal, and done in proper set and settings and in professional offices and retreat centers and this type of thing. It's happening. And it's an interesting time to be alive. Honestly, super exciting time to be alive. Better than the 70s. Because when, you first get into this stuff, before you can appreciate the here and now, you're all, like, as someone who's interested in psychedelics, it's really easy to say, like, man, I should have been alive during the hippie age, the 60s and 70s and blah, blah, blah. But dude, this is the real hippie age right now. Like, it's actually happening. It's becoming legal. People are turning on at record, like rates as
It's
far as like,
happening.
as
Yeah.
I understand
The
it. So,
only thing I wish we can experience now is like that anti-technology experience from the 70s. Like even if just for a month, you
mhm.
can have like zero connection to online. Like when I was watching this documentary, which I mentioned earlier on, it's Woodstock documentary. You see there like not a single person has a cell phone, and like they're
Mhm.
so present in that festival. Like everyone
Right.
is so present, and
Right.
and I don't think we'll ever know what that's like ever again.
Mhm.
Unless we lose drastically technology.
Well, I think that some people could create spaces for that. Hey, we're having a cell phone free festival.
Yeah,
Come check it out. I mean, Burning Man is almost like that in the sense that there's no cell reception, right? People
yeah,
still taking pictures, but
yeah.
they have
Almost,
their
I
phones.
guess. I guess
But
it's very present. There's a lot of presence there. So yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I just
I get
heard,
the burning
from a friend of
experience.
mine that his phone like did not work out there, so it was hard to
There's
actually like
certain
coordinate
spots
with
it
people.
will. I didn't realize until the last day that I could get reception. So for the first 5 days, I was just dealt with no phone.
Right.
It was great.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So those spaces can still exist. I think in yoga classes and stuff, because I also teach yoga on the side just for fun. I have a little circle, drum circle and yoga circle that we do. We're like, hey, put the phone away, right? Like we're not going to, for this hour, we're just going to do yoga. And we're
Like
not
when I
going
lose my phone for a day,
to.
the first feeling is panic. Like, fuck, I forgot my phone at home. But then the rest of the day, I feel a sense of freedom. It's
I
like I
know.
feel free. Like I'm on my own schedule. No one can
Yeah.
get off of me. I'm doing what I need to do and what I want to do.
That's
And
the
it's
deep work
liberating.
vibe.
Yeah, it is the
Yeah.
deeper. I think one day a week I'm gonna intentionally leave my phone at home and just
Hmm.
go for it.
For sure, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Cool.
think that's, um, yeah, so to get back to like kind of where are psychedelics going, I think that they're going to be there's going to be rules around them. It's not going to be willy-nilly, which I actually think is good because these are powerful substances. They are capable of putting you in tricky places where some people may have a bad time or a traumatic experience. So, there should be some type of screening process. There should be some type of setting enforcement as to like, hey, don't do it here, do it here in this way. And essentially, these medicines should have been part of psychology since the beginning, but
Hmm.
there was some kind of big outrage, in the 70s, and they made them illegal. But now we can't deny that scientifically these things work. Like statistically, people are getting better after use with them in the proper set and setting. If you're doing it in the wrong set and setting, it's not going to help you.
Yeah.
If you're out taking MDMA at the rave, you're not hydrated, you're not going inward. I mean, are you really going to get much out of it as far as healing goes? Probably not. But if you go inwardly, you have like a sitter there, you have someone to talk to open up topics that are difficult for you to discuss, but for you to like open those up without fear and with compassion for yourself and the other people involved in those experiences that are holding you back. It's revelatory.
Yeah,
It's
I think
amazing
I
time.
think I think you can get a an amazing experience without the intention, but you're still only using the fraction of potential that the medicine has, like an MDMA. Like
Hmm.
I've had experiences before I knew MDMA could be used for anything else at festivals where it was like I felt this amazing connection, heart opening, and I think a lot of people feel that.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, you can really do some long lasting work if you do it in the right context with, going in and asking the right questions, the right setting. So I 100%
100%.
agree with you.
Yeah, 100%.
Cool. So we're at about an hour, but we can have many of these conversations in the future.
Yeah.
So yeah, is there anything that you wanted to talk about that I didn't ask you before we go? Is there anything?
I think we hit it, man. But
Yeah,
I will, welcome the listeners to enter the time wheel. Find us on
absolutely. Yeah.
timewheel.net. We're on SoundCloud. Got a bunch of releases out, different genres, something for everyone. I hope who is into psychedelic, independent music, films, shows. So join us, check it out. We hope to like be kind of a nationwide thing. This and next year, we're working on touring, opening a couple of kind of like community events and stuff in different places, Colorado, California, New York, this type of stuff. And we want to connect with you guys. So if you're in San Antonio, Austin area, Time Will's here. We welcome you to our shows, into our catalog, into the films that we represent and help put out. And definitely big shouts to you and Psyched Out. Everyone should go watch that. Super awesome
Thank
film.
you.
It's a Time Wheel film as well. And yeah, super stoked to be a part of that. So yeah.
Thank you, brother. Thanks for all your support
Thank
along the
you.
whole way from day one. I really appreciate it. And more big things to come. Really looking forward to future projects together and all that we can create in this world. So thank
100%.
you, guys. Check out Matt, all of his work, timewheel.net. And if you have any questions, you can send me an email or Matt, just connect with us. And there to help you on your way. So again, thanks for watching, tuning in, subscribe, like, follow Elemental Awakening, Time Wheel, and we'll see you soon.
Much
Thanks,
love.
guys.
Thanks, guys.
Matt. Love you, brother.
Thank you. Much love.